the hardest thing, bro, was we lost that semi and then we had to play another game the next week. So even though I think, like I said, we played that game, we had to like review it as hard as it was and then play a game. I think afterwards, I remember one point vividly where we got a chance to go around everyone and talk about how we were feeling. Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think no mental skill can ever top that, about just sharing how you're feeling and sharing what's on your heart, what's on your mind. And at that stage, it was quite raw, and just hearing boys be vulnerable, like hearing my brother there speak about how he's feeling, that's so powerful, because it just allows me, because in my mind I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and say I'm all good.
Right.
And then you hear one person and you're like, holy, okay, they're feeling. So it brings my confidence up to be vulnerable and speak and share. I had my family there, so I lost the game and I was gutted. Of course I was gutted, you know, but I see my wife and kid, and man, it's like there's way more bigger, important things than a game of rugby.
Hey everyone, just a short little intro to set up today's episode with Ardie Savea. Look, I wanted to film it on the phone and not all the microphones and all the big stuff, because for me today's episode with Ardie represents what life is like, the power of life when we strip everything back, when we keep it simple, when we listen to the lessons that life offers. Today's episode with Ardie Savea has to be one of my all-time favorites, and I mean, I'm an emotional guy and I say that on every episode, but the fact that Ardie was brave enough to, you know, a different bravery than the Ardie and the bravery we see on the field from our All Blacks. Today's bravery and courage is about being open to feeling, being open to the unknown, and learning how to, like Ardie says, find the blessing within the storm. So if it's your first time on the podcast, welcome. My name is Will Fleming, and I go deep and I talk about life and the interesting and fascinating and sometimes frustrating facets of how complicated and simple this life is. Look, let's get into the episode with Ardie Savea. Welcome to my podcast. For those of you who are back again, thank you so much. You all blow my mind, and we are in a time of calming our minds. Ardie shares today tips he uses before the big match, and I try really hard to relate how unknown and weird it must be for our All Blacks to go on to the world's biggest stage with eyeballs looking at them, feeling uncomfortable. That is but the most uncomfortableness that we're feeling right now is coronavirus, is the feeling of the unknown. And Ardie talks about and shares his tips and tricks to getting through day to day. Let's get into the episode with Ardie Savea. Thank you all for blowing my mind. Bro, I say it every time in the podcast. It's a unique time in history where we're like on this lockdown. Like, sometimes I wonder about how we'll remember this time. You know, obviously there's the fear, there's the panic, there's the worry, but also there's this idea that, you know, when we were messaging back and forth, it's like we got family and we can have time with them. I mean, you do so much travel and stuff. Are you, like, I try to be positive. So are you just enjoying like having time to spend with your loved ones, bro?
Man, definitely, yeah. Like, even though it's a tough time for many, this has kind of been a blessing in disguise for us and our family. We spend family time when I'm playing footy, but to be able to spend like a full week, a full day with like my little one is quite uncommon with the work that I do. So man, we're just enjoying it. Sometimes it's full on, mate. It's full on, but you just wouldn't have it any other way when you look back at it. Eh?
Are you still like training and stuff? Do you still have to like report in and kind of, you know, test how much fat's on the body or anything, or is everyone kind of chilled out at the moment?
Nah, we still kind of like not full on, but close to that. Like we catch up about once a week, twice a week on Zoom. Just pretty much checking up on each other. We've got an app that we kind of signed up to, so when we do our running sessions, like running on the road, it records that, and the trainers can see that we've done the session. There's an app where we have to weigh ourselves twice a week, just to make sure that, you know, we're keeping by, and we got weights like programs, or if you don't have weights, then just like body weight workouts and stuff like that,
bro,
just to keep us ticking over.
You know, and there's I've talked to plenty of psychologists on the podcast, and one thing they say about this moment in time is like everyone is kind of like on the same level, and it's so interesting to try and even think about what that means, you know, like but the idea that you do have a weight and it can be your body, and just the idea that you got to move it around. And like one of the things I've been exploring through this journey of the podcast, particularly now, is what do we do when we are in these harder situations in life, you know? And I mean, I think that's quite a trivial thing to say, like, oh, we have to kind of get over adversity or something like that. But there is a lot of people kind of doing it tough. And because we can't see them, because we can't visit them, we just have to kind of like be okay with being at home. And, you know, there's obviously the physical fitness of footy. Have you spent much time with, like, I mean, you guys have mental skills people as well, and I mean, I guess I'm not really asking you to go too deep into this, but are there generic principles, bro, that actually could help other people in the mental skills thing? And I guess it's things like, I am assuming before you go on the field before a big game, you're nervous, you know, and there must be ways of calming your mind or bringing yourself back to the now. Is there anything that pops in your mind, bro, when you think about techniques that we can metaphorically bring into like, this is our field, you know, everyone now in their home, this is their stadium, and they have to, you know, maybe when you come out of your room, it's like coming out of the changing room, and you've got to somehow mentally be prepared. Definitely,
man. We have mental skills sessions and lessons. We're in the ABs, and I think a big one for me that's helped me a lot is my breathing techniques. So just as simple as it sounds, but it's so effective, especially for myself. Just even when I'm under stress, I'm angry, I'm too hyped, I'm excited, like breathing just brings me back to like just this calm state. And it's usually just 3 big deep breaths. True. It's usually 3 big breaths. And I just find after I've taken a third one, that like my levels is just like in medium. It's just like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like I know for me on the field, it's like I get really tired, so I tire out easily, and I find that to speed up my recovery, to speed up how my mind operates, doing the breathing 3 times just like slows that right down, and I'm able to focus quicker. If that, so I know these tough times as well, but maybe just when you wake up, get up and you're making a breakfast, and a lot of things are happening in your mind, a lot of things that are going through your mind, just take some big breaths. Awesome. And I reckon there's heaps of metaphors for this idea of, because, you know, it must be very strange, that whole scenario, say ABs, and then like big people, you know, lots of eyes watching you. I once interviewed Dr. Michelle Dickinson, and she told me that part of the reason people hate lots of eyes on them is because back in the day, you know, caveman day, it meant an animal was watching you and they were going to eat you. And so there is this weird psychological thing about like lots of people looking at you, and I guess what that means to me is you've still got to find a way to center yourself, to do the job, and maybe a few things within help you, you know, like I guess adrenaline and those type of things, and sometimes I think also too with, you know, rugby, maybe that first bit of contact, just like it's like the danger zone, you know, have to forget about the rest of the world. But I'm trying to really find these everyday things for this experience, because I reckon it is as out of it now. And when I touch base with people, they talk about this dream-like state.
like, you know, it's kind of like a movie where, is this really happening? You know, like normally in life we can project forward, you know, we can think about birthdays, and at the moment it's like I can't even imagine what the next steps of rugby will look like.
Like you said, mate, it's the total unknown.
Yeah, bro.
And then I think it's just not rugby. I think that's just everyone across. You know, our whole economy is uncertain at the moment in terms of what the future is going to look like.
Yeah.
But if there's something that this COVID-19 is teaching us, is to live in the now.
Hard out.
Just take each day by day, and that's all you can do, pretty much, for families and stuff. And I know there's a lot of resources out there that are helping out businesses and corporations in terms of how they can navigate through this space now and when COVID-19 does stop. But yeah, man, it's the total unknown at the moment. But like we have to do, man, we just, whatever happens, we just got to, okay, sweet, that's what it is, and then knuckle forward and keep going.
And one thing, Ardie, I was actually been wondering how to ask you this, and we can always cut this out because it's not my intent to kind of misinterpret anything, bro. But do you think there's a lot of rugby players, you know, professional ones, who are quietly like happy to have a break? And I don't know what that means. All I can say is, from me, it feels nice not to get on that motorway in the morning. It feels not, and I know the economy is struggling. We've got people, but there is an upside to not have to be on this rat race, you know? It's like marketing, tickets, we've got to get this done, we've got this, you know? And at the moment it's like, whoo, calm down. There's this, and it's not your fault that we can't do all this. And I just wonder if we can also give ourselves permission to just say, you know, particularly for you guys, because your bodies and your minds, you know, every week, doom, 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 and all of a sudden it's like, whew, you know, is it quite nice to have a kind of break, bro?
Mate, it's been amazing. And like I've always seen in like things that are challenging, there's always a blessing within the storm, you know, and we can call this COVID-19 the storm. For me, it's been being able to spend time with my family, work on my marriage, being a father. But I can see with some professional athletes where sport is still everything to them. Right. So like having that stripped away from them, they're like, what do I do now? Like, whereas in these athletes out there that are family, you know, got families, I see this as a blessing. Like we're so fortunate as rugby players that we are still getting paid during these times. Like we still have a job. So it's so refreshing just to get away from it, because our year is so crazy. Like, like you said, man, we're just like, we're just up, always going. We're away for like 6 weeks sometimes, like, and just being able to be at home, do that. And also, bro, like, and also work on ourselves on life after footy. Like having that opportunity to like network, like connect with people you would never connect with if rugby season was on. Man, it's out of this world. And there's some athletes that are in that mindset, but then there's also some that they're kind of in that stage where rugby is everything. That's all I want to do. But I think that comes with experience and time in the game. For our family, like there was a lot of things that we were doing before COVID-19 that I thought that we couldn't live without, or we needed to keep doing that to be happy, to be content. But all of that's been stripped away, and we've figured some stuff out within us saying like, man, we don't even need that. Like I love going out to cafes and having lunches and stuff like that, connecting, and that's been stripped away. But I'm able to survive normally. Like I'm just like, I love making lunch with my daughter and baking with my daughter, then going out to a cafe. Like, so there's a lot of things that I know are like for our family, my family, that we're going to change from what we were doing before COVID-19, because we just don't need that stuff.
And that's the right call. I think that that we all know we need to change. You know, we have so many things in our lives, you know, like you can see statistically that a lot of people aren't happy. You know, we have kind of horrible mental health and all these things, and now is the time to kind of reset and say, why that, because there's lots of things you can outsource your life to, you know, and sometimes I look at myself and I say, man, the cell phone, it's amazing, but far out, it's this portal into a never-ending story, and it's like,
that's it, man.
And you got to really control it, and it's actually one of the most interesting things I think about is whatever is going on now. Like me and you are chatting over the internet, and for years the internet has been kind of seen as, you know, trolls, or, you know, kind of where people can just leave comments. But I kind of thought it's pretty awesome now that that's the only way we get to talk to each other, you know.
That's it, man.
And even if we wanted to, I couldn't fly down or you couldn't fly up. That's gone for now, and so it's kind of like, whoa, what does that mean? And I guess I guess what it means is just don't take things for granted, you know. You know,
it's having a laugh with a few of the rugby boys, like you know, because we train and we're so used to having these gyms and like these mean weights and these watt bikes. It's like, because we've been in the game so long, it was like, I can't get fit without all those equipment. But then it makes me, like, this being at home during this time, it's like, it's brought like memories of when I was a kid growing up, and the old man would just make weights out of like the chairs outside. Yeah, bro. Just using the road as like a rugby field, and it's kind of just brought that memory back. And like, I'm doing press-ups, sit-ups, and that's all I need. You know, whereas being in this matrix, man, like before, and it's just like, you think that you need a lot of these things. And for me, a big learning, like at the moment, is like, shucks, I've survived before with nothing. I can do it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. And our ancestors have too, right? Like, that's the thing, is I actually think the reason, and I don't think we're saying it as much as, well, I don't know, I'm no psychologist, but I know there's a tension in us because we feel bad at the bigger scale, but on a personal level, I know all of these things inside us are like are alive, meaning, you know, our meaning of, and it's weird because you would think, actually, you know, you think about you on the biggest stage, you know, cameras, millions of people, but actually now you're getting those feelings of, I just got to make that sandwich with the daughter, and you know, I just got to try to like get through the day with, for me anyway, it's like, try not to make people angry at me. One of the things my wife likes to say to me is, hey man, you're way nicer to your podcast guest than us. And I'm like, all right, I take that feedback, and I'm going to try those 3 breaths, you know, because I can find myself sometimes when you feel yourself like wanting to like, you know, like whinge or kind of say, you did this, maybe just like sitting back and just like just those 3 and just give you a little space,
that little time. I'm nowhere near perfect, but I'm exactly like you, brother. Like when I either just walk away and breathe, I'd rather that than me talking and be like pointing the finger that escalates where you just go out and just take that.
It must be
and then
hard for you, bro.
And you're saying, "I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Sorry.
your people can say to you, "Hey, you're an All Black. You should act better." That's hilarious. But nah, man, it's cool that we are. It is cool that we kind of all feel like, I mean, because we are, right? We're all humans. And this is the thing we forget, you know. I like that I'm not hearing a lot of arguing about, you know, who's this and who's got that. It's like, man, everyone a royal family member can get COVID. And that is proof that we are more similar than different. And I hope we don't forget that, you know, like I've asked the psychologists, I said, what happens after? What do humans go back to, you know? And they're like, well, some will use this moment to kind of empower them to be different, to remember. Some will not. Some will kind of be overwhelmed by fear. But they said, you know, everyone's different. Everyone's different. And so when I realized that, I just thought to myself, man, I'm just going to try and talk about the things where we're the same, you know, and we all need to breathe, right? We all need to eat, we all need to drink. And I think those are the things where, like you're saying about press-ups, like, it's not about how many you can do. I think it's the fact that we can all do one. And you see lots of those challenges going around online, and you know, you could do a burpee, or you could just like...
You don't need a bloody bench bar and like weights. Like, do sit-ups.
Hard out.
Like, or press-ups. And the beautiful thing, everyone can do it. And it just kind of made me think, like, I used to do that before, like, professional footy, and that's what kind of got me to that stage, you know. So it's kind of been I don't know, like just a humble myself kind of thing, bro, like, you know, kind of thing, for all of us, like, you know, it's funny, because sometimes as our traditional society, you know, the dude goes out and does the work and come home, and actually I think when sometimes when I get grumpy, I'm like, hey man, I'm paying for this stuff, and now we're all home, and so it's like, yeah, I should cook too. You know, I should do the washing. I should help out. And it's kind of weird, because when there is a bigger crisis, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems to be less about, you know, this is my role, this is your role. It's just like, let's just do this. You know, let's do this together. And and I guess it just goes to show how many things, if we're not watching, if we're not active, if we're not like mindful, things can creep into our life, like those latest shoes, or and they're cool, but the funny thing about press-ups is it works too with bare feet, you know. and the same thing with conversations. Like I've noticed that my wife has a big puzzle out now, and it's like a 1,000-piece puzzle, and it takes days to finish it, but everyone just comes along, fixes a bit of puzzle, and then moves on, bro. And the TV's off way more. So look, I guess it's like trying to also acknowledge that, man, there's some hard times ahead, but I kind of feel like for the first time in a while, humanity has got this, because we've been through this. We know from whatever corner of earth our ancestors are from, one thing they did is they know how to suffer, they know how to wake up tomorrow and hope, you know, and that's kind of what I think we should be scared, we should be worried, but we should also just hold that hope, you know, and ask yourself, you know, what brings you hope? Because I seriously reckon that with busy schedules, you know, it's like, I think about for you guys, particularly in season, all your hours are planned, hey, and it's like, man, how am I gonna just get that little bit for me? And I mean, I guess you can, but if it's a flight, you might be trying to fill that flight with Netflix or games and stuff like that, and it might be just interesting to think about this break, and man, what lies ahead. So have you used this time, bro, to kind of think about life after footy? Is that something you guys do? This window, mate, is like, I've always been that person that's like, I have to have something else, because like I've seen it, and I'm real like, how can I say it? Like, I've seen a lot of ex-players and articles about the transition zone with rugby into afterlife, and it's not that good, and it's been a struggle, and I don't want that. Like, you know, I want to have that transition into something else as smooth as possible, and I just see footy as something that I really, really love to do, and it provides. It's like a pretty much a platform where it provides for my family, and I can love it. It brings me income, and it's awesome, but it's also like a stepping stone into other things after life, like the people that you meet, the sponsors, like just everything that you learn. And I'm in a space where I'm learning business. I've got the clothing line, and been in like some meetings where I'm sitting there, and like a lot of the skill set, a lot of the things that we learn in rugby also applies in business, but it's just different language, different terms. But the whole concept's there. So I'm sitting there like, I'm thinking like I'm not that smart and I don't understand like business. Then they start talking about culture and all these things, and I'm like, hold on, like I know, like you know, like, and this time it's just all about like just trying to learn and grow in areas where I think I may tap into afterlife, and that's just connecting with people through. I just discovered LinkedIn. So I'm grateful I discovered LinkedIn because
people like me spamming you, hey, come on my show, come on my show.
But it's just a great opportunity to think what you may do after footy, and it's an awesome time to just reach out to people.
Yeah, bro.
And they may be in those specific fields. The worst thing you're going to get is a no or a scene or no reply.
Yeah.
And the best thing is you might get a person reply to you and are willing to help. So, yeah, man, massive window of opportunity for us. Yeah. In terms of life after footy,
like, because you obviously have your podcast and it's quite different. Like, I don't remember any other professional rugby players having podcasts. You're probably one of the first ones, particularly in New Zealand, and also like not having kind of scripted questions and just having conversations. And man, I mean, you've obviously seen your feedback when you read the comments, and it's like, yes, we love to watch our heroes, but we also like to hear about them in other ways than the news reporting a little thing about whatever happened. Like, it's cool just to hear everyday stories, you know, about people's lives. And the funny thing about a podcast, and you must experience this too, when you're in a conversation with someone, all of a sudden these things start coming out that you didn't realize you're going to talk about. And this seems to be where people in the digital world are loving it. Because it's like, oh man, I can do my dishes and hear the story from Ardie, you know, and before it was like, cool, I have to tune in, or I've got to find the card in the Weet-Bix box. But now you can do those things and hear about that time, like now, where you were just, your dad was making weights out of chairs, you know, and it's like, far out. That's cool. And you know, sometimes I think it's taken a while, but I do hope that the internet is finding, and I still haven't worked out how to say this, bro, but you know how we have senses in life, like we can see, feel, touch, smell, but for the internet we don't have one, and I hope we're creating one, which is, I think like Joe Rogan and those podcasters kind of invented this long form talking, and I imagine it's like sitting around a campfire, you know, or some of the best yarns you have is when you're driving and you can't look at the other person, but you're having these massive, deep conversations. And there's something about podcasting where it taps into that, and particularly for the listener, you know, like they'll be listening now and just being like, whoa.
Man, podcasts are awesome, mate. Like,
bro.
Yeah, like you said, bro, it's so many times where I've been out. I love coffee connects. I love going to a cafe and having coffee and just connecting with the brothers. And there's times where we've sat there for hours just chatting about life, everything. And we're like, man, if only like we had a camera here so we can share this conversation to people that may get something out of it. And then that's where the whole podcast, I started listening to Ice and Gary Vee, and reached out to them and how they started their reached out to Ice, how he started his podcast, and I just gave it a crack. Yeah, bro.
Something interesting too, as I look from the outside in, you know, you're also paving the way for these things to become normal, because there is no people you can look back to and say, how'd you navigate this? That is an interesting dynamic of speed versus getting everyone on board, and I think definitely there is a transition, and the fact that you can do it, you know, that yes, there is the brand and then there's the you, and they have to work in harmony, and I think that's what we're learning in life, right? There's the version of us that goes to work and there's the version of us that goes home, and those two people can be slightly different even though they're the same soul or whatever. But we just got to find that tension. And I reckon it's like, it's that metaphor again with breathing, but metaphorically that the brand owners, they also need to take that breath and just say, what's happening here? You know, what is our big move? And I think this stuff might help us with that. But definitely you'll be remembered in the kind of interesting position, because you also had to contend with doing the mahi, and also like, what's my opinions on things, and I like it actually personally that we will move to a world where it comes out of your mouth versus via others.
You say something and it goes down to the end. Through different channels, the story changes, and that's where a lot of players, like you see us when we do media conferences, or we're like robots. We say, like, because we're too scared that it's going to get taken out of context. Whereas I think we're starting to learn, well, I've certainly learned that I can just tell my own story from my own platform, and this is what technology and the digital world has given us. Is we don't need to go to media and announce my new contract signing. I can just do it on my own channel. Not only is that, like, not only people can just come and source from my own mouth, it builds personal brand, it builds eyes on, like, and I think it's a time where in the rugby industry, where the outlook on social media, the outlook on the digital world is starting to change now, because during these times, all we can do is through the phone.
Exactly.
And in the past, I think in the rugby world, we've seen that the phone and social media as a negative thing. There's such a negative connotation on it. Whereas now we're starting to see a lot of the good things and the positives and the opportunities that rugby can grow in.
100%,
in this digital world.
Man, it's bro, we live in an interesting time, eh? Like, I sometimes,
it's crazy, man.
Like, I think about my mum and their journey from Raro to come over here, and all they gave up for this idea of a Western world, and actually I sometimes think, man, if you stayed there and I was born there, we'd have no coronavirus, and we'd just go get those coconuts and sit down and have a mean feed. But again, I think it is that balance of we want to acknowledge both, we want to be proud to be able to jump online, but also, like, I can't wait, bro, to go and swim at the beach. I can't wait, too, even if it's cold, man. It's like, man, I got to get in there, because and also I like I don't like it. If you think of the world as a living thing too, imagine the world must be like, the world's playing All Black World Cup finals every day, having us smashing the beach, litter, all these things, and the world just gets the world's got 3 breaths too, bro, I can breathe. Thank you for not just stomping on me the whole day. And
this is what the COVID-19 is, man. Mother Nature saying, I need a break from you humans, man.
And it's powerful, when they can, when there's no games, our national game, and no one said anything. It's just like, we're not doing this, and everyone's like, sweet. That's power. When Mother Nature's like, you guys stop, Olympics stop, and everyone's like, okay. Did you always want to play footy, bro?
No, like, I played sport because, like, I was good at it, though. Like, like, you're a kid and you're good at something, you're obviously going to do it. But there were so many things that I loved to do outside of footy, man. Like, I loved, like, being in productions, school productions, acting, musicals, singing. So I loved productions. I loved, like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say, like, I say design, like, pretty much innovating, like innovation, creating. Wasn't good at drawing or anything, but, like, just ideas were always in my head about, like, like certain trends or something like that. So I was, I was a dude that was so curious about everything and had a lot of ideas. Loved expressing myself, acting, and singing and whatnot, dancing and a lot of those things.
And has that changed, bro, in professional footy? Are you able to express more? Like when you first were kind of like, you know, intern or whatever they call it, you know, the early days, was it about, were you able to show who you were, or did that kind of come later? Yeah,
so what you're seeing from me now is the kid at college.
Whoa, cool.
Straight up, man. Like when I got into professional footy, man, it just like got squashed out of me.
Really?
Yeah, man. Like, you know, you're an 18-year-old going into a professional environment, old school, like rugby, tough dude. Like, you know, that stereotype. You have to be this tough guy. You can't No, I'm not saying you can't show emotion, but like you know, you can't be like
seen as a weakness, eh?
Yeah, like if you're dancing or like, you know, what are you up to? Like, so that got kind of squashed out of me, like my personality, like all that kind of expression stuff. But looking back now, man, like I just can't wait to get back out on the field because I just want to express myself and just enjoy it. I remember scoring a try. Like I used to score tries and run straight back to halfway. Wouldn't celebrate, just get up, run straight back. And Rico Ioane, who's another player, he's one of my closest boys. Remember I scored a try and he's like, he doesn't care. Like he expresses himself and he's like, let's go, like pumping me. And like, because off the field, I'm like that with my close circle, like on my normal self. And bro, I turned around, ignored him, went straight back to halfway. And after the game, he turned around to me, he's like, "Oi, just be yourself, like stop being." But it's because from that start of professional footy, kind of got like, I just have to be this like straight dude, don't express myself. And I think it's come through experience and kind of the actually refinding myself with inside, and that's had nothing to do with rugby. It was all the things off the field that I had to kind of navigate.
Yeah, bro.
And now that I've kind of like know who I am, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm just that college kid that used to dance and act, and you can kind of see it through what I'm kind of doing now. For me, I thought it was about like growth and growing to another level, man. It was stripping back. For me, it was stripping all what society and what I saw society I had to be like. It was just me stripping that back and being like, actually, who was I as a kid? Because that's like when you're such innocent, you're just you. And just going through that journey, man, it's in the storm, but like I said, there's always a blessing. And yeah, bro, the more I kind of tell myself that like, be you, be yourself, the more I manifest in myself, the more I start to believe it, and then just express it. And a lot of the things that we have as males is worrying about what other people think of you, and that's kind of been the main thing about me. Like I went into rugby environment and I was like, I don't want to step out because he's gonna, then I start playing little mind games in my head. I got the inner critic in my head saying, damn, he just looked at me like that, he's talking about. So it's just all those things going on mine as a young kid in a professional rugby game. And it just wasn't until I don't know what it is, mate. I don't know, it's just life. Growing up, just life. You just go through a stage where you want to kind of, you don't want to be like that. You want to just really be yourself.
Hard out. Yeah, Dr. Paul Wood, he's a fellow Wellingtonian. He's a psychologist.
He roots for the Hurricanes.
He's a good bugger. And he joined me on the podcast because I was like, Paul, we're going into lockdown. I'm panicking. Do a podcast with me. And he's like, yeah, sweet as. But he said to me, like, life always provides the therapy, but you have to be listening. And I think that's what you're saying, right? If you're not listening, if you're not looking, then the answers are there and they just float on by.
They just float on by, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, bro.
That is it.
So I think about, as we slowly kind of wrap up the podcast, like things people can do, right? And it sounds quite simple. Just try and live happy or try and be in the moment, but it never works for me. I know I shouldn't overeat, and all of a sudden I'm looking at myself like, dude, why are you in the chips again? And it's because I think we have this other capacity in our brain, and it's this, it's that consciousness. And it like looks at you while you're looking at it, and it's like, I got you, and it's that inner voice. And sometimes I think, well, break it all down. And how can we do that? Well, it's by talking to yourself and others about, you know, just real life scenarios. And one thing, and I don't want to kind of take you there, but we'll do it, and again, I can cut it out. With the World Cup, bro, obviously that didn't go to plan, right? But
yeah.
We heard, you know, in the media, this collective consciousness around, you know, it went straight to what could we have done different, A, B, C, whatever it is. And what I'm interested in, bro, is like the process that you go through, whether, you know, just if there is a process, because when we're outside looking in, we imagine that there's steps you take, you know, like, okay, we've got to get over the disappointment, but how? And I guess what I mean by that is not to go through into detail, but for us at home, if maybe that World Cup is for us, like, man, my company's closing down, you know, man, I don't know how I'm going to pay these bills. And was there kind of mental skill sets or physical things you guys did just to help you with the loss?
Because the hardest thing, bro, was we lost that semi and then we had to play another game the next week. So even though I think, like I said, we played that game, we had to like review it as hard as it was and then play a game. I think afterwards we didn't get mental skills sessions, but I remember one point vividly where we got a chance to go around everyone and talk about how we were feeling. Pretty much.
Wow.
And I think no mental skill can ever top that, about just sharing how you're feeling and sharing what's on your heart, what's on your mind. And at that stage, it was quite raw, and just hearing boys be vulnerable, like hearing my brother there speak about how he's feeling, that's so powerful, because it just allows me, because in my mind I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and say I'm all good.
Right.
And then you hear one person and you're like, holy, okay, they're feeling. So it brings my confidence up to be vulnerable and speak and share. And I think it wasn't necessarily like specific mental skills, like you know, I think just talking about it.
Bro, it just sounds like you guys were just being human.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. Just being human and talking about it. And I've certainly found for myself talking about it, I was just releasing it. It's just taking off my shoulder. Whereas in like, I think that's a massive point. And and so many people were different. Like there would have been guys that would have had mental skills help to deal with the loss. And there are others like myself where I had my family there, so I lost the game, and I was gutted. Of course, I was gutted, you know. But I see my wife and kid, and man, it's like there's way more bigger, important things than a game of rugby.
What I like is I related it straight away to a strategy we could all bring into our lives. Okay, so business is not good, or health is not good, or something is not good due to COVID. And what did you guys do? Well, you said it. No mental skills going to help you. You had to lean into each other as humans. You had to share. And everyone can do that, eh, bro? We can do it. And it's scary and it sucks. Yeah. But maybe it's the family sitting down and, hey, Ardie said it. We all have to share one thing about what's not going right. How did we not play as a team today, as a family? And if we do that, we give ourselves permission to, not sit there and suppress it. Hear someone being brave. And share it too, and it's
buzzy, bro. Like people can listen to this and see a professional athlete in All Black speak about these challenges and the tools that we use and all the skills. And like you said, man, all the skills that we use, pretty much anyone can do it, and they can apply to everyday life. Just being a human, man. Yeah,
dude, that's amazing. Crazy, like the podcast, please blow my mind, and we're talking about things we can all do. It's not about the this and the that we think it's going to be. It's about all that's blowing my mind is, man, we got to talk. We got to talk to the people that we tell ourselves we love the most. And that can sometimes be tricky, you know, like, I think we assume that, or we think we're being brave, right? Nah, it's all good. Steady the ship. We're carrying on. It's like, nah, man, we're going to sink the ship if we don't. You know, that's patching those holes. That's doing that. Oh, Ardie, it's been awesome to kind of pick your brains and, you know, I guess more than pick your brains, bro, share this moment, you know, like what I've found, this portal that we create in the podcast, that it helps us not think about the massive picture. You know, and for people listening or watching, they're going to be like, cool, that was a nice way to share time, to acknowledge the moment, and to hear some stories, but also, like, you know, we got work to do now, you know, after this potty, man, we all got to get out there and, I don't know, maybe it's do that one press up, or maybe it's connect with that person in your family, because we're like, you know, we're saying, I don't like being jammed together, or it's calling someone, and I like the best thing is, man, we can do this, and actually going forward too, that makes us less vulnerable. You know, we don't want to be vulnerable to these things like Corona, man. We want to, like, you know, look at it for what it is. It's this, you know, it's picking on us. And I've spent ages kind of thinking through this, you know, like the fact that it goes after your immune system is freaky. You know, it doesn't go after how you look. It doesn't go after your skin color or your height, but it goes after your immune system. And it's asking us, it's saying, be more resilient, be stronger, and put yourself in uncomfortable zones. And, you know, like one of the things I've been trying is, have you heard of Wim Hof? Yeah, bro.
That's where the breathing technique came from.
Oh, true. Mean.
Yeah,
I spoke to a 6-time kickboxing champ called Jason Sutty, and he's the New Zealand version of Wim Hof. And he went to learn with Wim, and he just talks about when you breathe in that way, you don't just get a calm feeling, you also awaken something in your immune system, which says, I got to be on edge. And I love that, bro. We've got to be a little bit brave to try new things, you know?
I know, man. You just never know, man. They've proven with the Iceman that, like, breathing and his techniques can, like, kill bad like germs, or like just like infections inside.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, bro.
No, I think, well, I was trying to pick that Jason Sutty's brain, and he said, well, what happens is viruses, we have a pH level or something in our blood, and viruses attack the ones with high pH level. So the breathing through the oxygen and depletion equalizes us. So it means they, like, come hunting, but they can't get us. And I mean, look, I guess I'm no doctor or scientist, but I'm human, and I like the idea metaphorically that you just have to breathe as well as be healthy and go to the doctor, get your checkup and stuff like that. But again, man, it's like we can do stuff too. Hey, it's cool having the pill to fix you, but we can do stuff too. Well, again, thanks for spending time with us, bro. And I wish, you know, safety, whatever that means in this world. But I hope, you know, all the best. And for those listening too, you know, it's like just day at a time, eh? That's all we can do. Just get through today and go back and have another listen. There's heaps of good little tips and tricks. But yeah, Ardie, cool, man. Thanks for blowing our mind.